Your toddler is mid-tantrum, and their hand comes out of nowhere and connects with your arm, your face, your chest. For a split second, you are not looking at your baby anymore. You are looking at someone who just hit you, and a word flashes through your mind that no parent wants to think about their own child. Aggressive. Here's the advice you've probably already tried. Say, "We don't hit." Put them in timeout. Isolate them until they calm down. Almost none of that addresses what is actually happening inside a toddler's brain in the exact second their hand flies out. And until you understand that, nothing you try will make sense of what you're seeing. So let's start with a number that should change how you feel about this immediately. Researchers tracking children from infancy found that by 17 months old, the overwhelming majority of toddlers have already hit, pushed, or bitten another person, a sibling, a parent, a peer. Not a troubled minority. Almost all of them. If your toddler hits during a meltdown, you are not raising an unusually aggressive child. You are raising a completely typical one, at the exact stage where this behavior is, statistically, closer to universal than rare. This comes from decades of research led by developmental scientist Richard Tremblay, who ran some of the longest-running studies ever conducted on childhood aggression. What he found reshaped how psychologists think about hitting in early childhood entirely. Physical aggression in children does not start in the school years and grow worse over time, the way most people assume. It starts far earlier than anyone expects, rises sharply through the toddler years, peaks at around 2 to 3 years old, and then, for the overwhelming majority of children, declines steadily on its own. Your toddler is not on a path toward becoming an aggressive child. They are standing at the single highest point on a curve that comes down almost as fast as it went up. Picture what that curve actually looks like in a single week. A 1-year-old might swat at a sibling who takes their toy, more reflex than intention. A 2-year-old, in the exact same situation, hits harder, faster, and with what looks like real frustration behind it, because by now they understand ownership, unfairness, and wanting, and their body still has no better outlet for all three at once. By 5 or 6, most children in that same situation say something instead, even if it is just, "That's mine, give it back." The hitting did not vanish because a parent finally cracked down. It faded because the rest of the brain finally caught up to the part that was already capable of throwing a punch. Here's the part of Tremblay's research that matters most for you as a parent. He found that this decline happens for a specific, identifiable reason. As children develop stronger verbal skills, the ability to say what they want, what they feel, what is wrong, physical aggression drops. As they develop stronger inhibitory control, the brain's ability to pause before acting, physical aggression drops again. In other words, your toddler is not hitting because something is wrong with their character. They are hitting because 2 specific skills, language and impulse control, have not finished developing yet. And hitting is what a big feeling looks like when it has nowhere else to go. Quick pause, because the next part explains exactly why the hand moves before the brain can stop it, and it is the single most useful thing you will learn in this video. If this is already reframing how you see your toddler's hardest moments, subscribe right now because we break down research like this every single week. Let's talk about what's happening inside their brain in the exact second before they hit. Dr. Daniel Siegel, a psychiatrist at UCLA, created a simple way to understand this that has helped millions of parents, called the hand model of the brain. Picture your hand folded into a fist, thumb tucked inside. Your fingers represent the thinking, reasoning, decision-making part of the brain, the prefrontal cortex, wrapped protectively around your thumb, which represents the emotional, reactive part of the brain, the amygdala. In a calm moment, the fingers stay closed, holding the emotional center steady, keeping it in check. But when a big enough emotion hits, frustration, overwhelm, a toy taken away, the fingers fly open. Siegel calls this flipping your lid. The thinking brain goes offline for a moment, and the reactive brain takes over completely. In an adult, that flip is rare and brief. In a toddler whose thinking brain is barely built yet, it happens constantly, and when it happens, the body does not wait for permission. It acts. That is the moment your toddler hits you. Not a calculated choice, not a character flaw. A brain that has temporarily lost access to the part of itself that says wait, think, choose a different action. What's left is pure, unfiltered impulse, moving in whatever direction gets the feeling out the fastest, and a hand is often the fastest, simplest tool a toddler's body has available. Here is what that actually looks like in real time. You say no to another cookie before dinner. For half a second, nothing happens, because the thinking brain is still technically online, still holding the fingers closed around the thumb. Then the disappointment lands fully, the fingers fly open, and the hand comes out, all in less time than it takes you to finish saying the word no. There was no pause in there for your toddler to catch themselves, because in that exact window, the part of the brain that catches things had already gone offline. What looks instant and dramatic to you is, from the inside of their skull, exactly that, fast and total. Now here's the piece that ties the language finding and the brain science together, and it might be the most important idea in this entire video. Your toddler's motor system, the part of their brain that controls their arms and hands, develops years ahead of their language system and their impulse control system. That means your toddler's body is fully capable of throwing a fast, hard hit long before their brain is capable of forming the words, "I am so frustrated right now," or pausing long enough to try. Watch a toddler stack blocks, climb onto a couch, or throw a ball across the room with real accuracy. And then listen to them try to explain why they are upset, usually a handful of single words strung together, if that. The gap between what their body can already do and what their mouth can already say is enormous, and that gap does not close for years. The hitting hand and the missing words are not two separate problems. They are the exact same problem, showing up in two different places. Your toddler is not choosing violence over communication. Their body is doing the only kind of communication it currently has access to. So, what do you actually do the next time that hand flies out? 3 things, and none of them involve shame. First, block the hit calmly, without a big reaction. Catch the hand, hold it gently, and simply say, "I won't let you hit." Your face should stay steady, not shocked, not furious. A toddler mid-meltdown is already flooded. Your calm is the only regulation available to them in that moment, and reacting with your own big emotion adds fuel instead of putting it out. Think of yourself as the fingers that have temporarily closed over your own thumb, modeling with your whole body the exact thing their brain cannot yet do on its own. Second, name the feeling underneath the hit, out loud, every single time. "You are so angry the tower fell down. You really wanted that toy, and I said no." This does not excuse the hit. It teaches your toddler's brain, slowly, across hundreds of repetitions, that there is a word for what they are feeling, and eventually, the word will arrive before the hand does. This is the exact mechanism Tremblay's research points to. Language is what eventually replaces the hitting, and you are the one supplying the language, one meltdown at a time. Third, resist labeling your toddler as aggressive, even quietly in your own head. A 2-year-old who hits during a flood of emotion is not the same as a person who hits with intent to harm. The word aggression carries a judgment about character. What your toddler is actually displaying is dysregulation, a nervous system without the tools yet to hold a feeling that big without it spilling out physically. That distinction matters because how you privately label your toddler shapes how you respond to them, and a child treated like a problem to be managed develops very differently than a child treated like a person still learning a skill. Here's what I want you to walk away with today. Every time your toddler hits during a tantrum, somewhere underneath your shock is a fact worth holding on to. This is not a preview of who they are becoming. It is a stage nearly every toddler on Earth passes through, and it ends, for almost all of them, the same way. Not through punishment, through language catching up, through impulse control slowly coming online, through hundreds of ordinary moments where a calm adult stood beside them and said, "I see how big this feeling is, and I am not going anywhere." The hand that hits you today is the same hand that, given a few more years of exactly this kind of patient repair, will one day be capable of raising itself calmly and saying, "I'm really upset," instead. You are not raising a child who hurts people. You are raising a child who has not finished building the tools to say what they mean yet, and every calm response you give them is one more brick in that foundation. If this changed how you see your toddler's hardest moments, subscribe right now, because every single week we break down what is actually happening inside your toddler's mind, backed by real research, explained in a way that finally makes sense. And if you know a parent quietly ashamed of a toddler who hits, send them this video today. What they need to hear is not that their child is aggressive. It's this: